we've had a whole lot going on lately, so I thought it was time for a life update. And disclaimer here, I do have birds, and usually when I film, I cover their cage so they're quiet and they're not flying around the room. However, since this is going to be a much more casual video today than what I usually do, I left their door open, so you're going to hear them and see them. And I did that partially because some people have been asking how the parakeets are and my African Grey and my two dogs, so we will get to that. In addition to talking about the animals, I'll also tell you about a few trips we've been on this year. Some good, some bad. Some large expenses we've had lately. Some good, some bad. I'll talk about how my handbag preferences have changed a bit lately and why, and how that's affecting some of the content on my channel. As well as, how is it going in Oregon? We moved up here about 2 years ago. And I started working for myself 100% of the time instead of doing this and another job. So how's that going too? And I'll also share a recipe that I came up with that's really easy and I've been happy with. So that'll happen at the end. And you'll see, because of my editing and because of Snowball, the little white bird, flying back and forth all the time, that sometimes he will be in the frame and then the next frame he'll just magically be gone. And he's back. So welcome, I'm Beckman and I'm here to help you live your most luxurious life within your budget. I post new videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those. And so you don't miss my daily community posts where I share the best sales of the day and fabulous handbags that I find. Also, don't miss my website, autumnbeckman.com/shop. That's where you'll find handbags and accessories I have for sale, as well as the My Handbag Collection Organizer, which are planner pages that I've designed to help you organize and curate your handbags and your life. The item tracker page is the heart of the planner, where you can record everything about your handbags and small goods. I also have purchase trackers, pages that help you track how you use your items in different ways, several different calendar layouts so you can find what works best for you, project planning pages, and so much more. And it's becoming abundantly clear why I cover them during videos. I'm gonna throw some new food in their bowls and see if they'll hang out and be quiet for a little bit. Okay, done. Back to the video. So we have taken 2 big trips this year so far. There was one in January that I don't remember if I told you about it already or not. It's for our second wedding anniversary. We drove up Mount Hood to Timberline Lodge and stayed there for a couple nights. We actually extended our stay for a night because we enjoyed it so much. It's so, so beautiful there. If you Google it and read some of the history of the place and look at photos, it's really amazing. The interior is basically a big log cabin, and they have some of the most massive wood beams you've ever seen made out of a single tree. And we happened to be there on a day where it was the deepest snow in the entire country at that point in time. It was 60 something inches, I think. We did a little snowshoeing, saw some gorgeous views. It was really fun and we're looking forward to going back sometime. Now, with the parakeets, several of you have asked me for updates on them, and I keep promising that I'm going to do a dedicated video. I'm still planning to do that because there's a lot to update you on. The reason I haven't gotten that video out yet is, as you'll hear, we've been doing a lot of other things, and that particular video is going to take a lot of time to put together because in the months since I got Cedar back in November and then Snowball in February, I think it was, I've taken so many video clips of them on my phone, and I have to upload all those. I have to go through everything, I have to edit each of those clips so that I can use them to illustrate the story that I'll tell you of how things have progressed with them. But just a quick overview, it couldn't have gone better. Snowball's back. He's doing great. He's even been talking some. And Cedar has really come out of his shell, so to speak, and he comes out of the cage all the time now because of this little guy. He's learned that that's a safe thing to do and a fun thing to do because he gets to fly all around the room. So it's going wonderfully. Do they get along with my African Grey? No, because my African Grey wants to bite them. But I have a stand for her, for Vincent, in my room here, and I bring her in sometimes. They just keep away from each other, and I never leave them unsupervised because Vincent could seriously injure a parakeet. I'll get to the dogs in a minute. One of you asked me something recently. I think you asked if I was going to buy something from the big Coach sale that's going on right now. And I said no because we've had several large expenses recently. And so I'm not buying as many handbags, although you probably wouldn't know it from watching my channel. I forget what they said, but it left me with the assumption that they thought that everything that we had spent money on, the big expenses, were bad things. And they weren't at all. One of them was we went to World Market for something, I don't know what, And as soon as we walked in, they had this beautiful outdoor sofa. And I have wanted a beautiful outdoor sofa for a long time, but we'd never had the space for it. But now we do in the apartment. Sorry, I'm so sorry. In the apartment that we're in now, that we upgraded to last September, it has a large balcony, so we have space for a sofa. And I wasn't serious about getting one because I knew we had some other expenses coming up that I'll get to. But Paul was like, oh yeah, that's nice. How much is it? Yeah, let's get it. We ended up not getting that one. I was like, you know, hold your horses, man. Let's not buy furniture impulsively, right? So I went home, did a bunch of research online, looked at lots of different things, looked at some other things in person. We ended up going back to World Market and purchasing a different sofa, which was a modular set of different chairs and ottomans and things. And it comes in two colors, a cream and a gray. We got the gray. This picture shows what the set looks like. Our setup is a little bit different. We have 3 chairs with arms on both ends and then an ottoman sticking out on one end. But that was a completely unexpected expense that ended up being a little more than $1,000. Plus I got 2 tables to go behind the couch because with the dogs, if we have like a little coffee table, they're gonna jump on it to get to the couch and they'll knock food over and knock drinks over. So I got like console tables to put behind the couch. So if you're sitting on the couch, you just reach behind you to put down your glass or your plate, whatever you might be enjoying, or your electronics. What are you doing to me? Boop. You're very silly. So that was one thing, and around that same time, this all happened in May, I think. So it was very recent. Around that same time, we took the dogs to the vet for their annual exams. And we did blood work on both of them, urinalysis, just the whole works, especially for Baron because he's a senior wiener now. So we wanted to make sure everything was okay with him because, of course, as you get older, more things can happen. So Roxy was totally fine. Baron, though, we ended up having to take him back a few times for different tests. The one blood test, he had 3 urinalyses, ultrasound. I'm so sorry. This bird has a really tough life. So anyway, what ended up happening with Baron, who is still here. Actually, let me go grab him. Okay, here's Baron. I'm not gonna keep him in here long because he doesn't like the birds, as you can tell. He's like, get that bird away from me. Baron is in early stages of kidney disease. So he now can no longer eat whatever he wants. He has to be on a special prescription kidney diet, which he's really enjoying because it's canned food. So it's like a really big special treat for him because he'd always been on dry food. And even his treats have to be special kidney treats. But he's doing great. Again, early stages, his numbers were just slightly above the normal range or below the normal range, depending on what it was. Get rid of this bird so I can take care of this doggo. He's showing no other signs we would never have known if we hadn't done the blood work. He acts totally normal, just none of the other symptoms of kidney disease. So my understanding is we manage this. We go back every few months for more testing to see how his numbers are doing. And hopefully he'll still have a full life with us and many more years. Aw, Bear. Mwah, you're the best. And I won't bring Roxy in here because she tried to eat Snowball once, so she's been banned. So all this happened, the sofa and all the stuff with Baron, which of course cost a few $1,000s. In May and early June, right before the second week of June, where we took a big trip that I'd been planning all year for Paul's 80th birthday. He wants my necklace is the problem. And I don't want to take it off just because I have a tiny pterodactyl attacking me. We debated whether to go to Olympic National Park, where Paul has been before, but I haven't. That's up in Washington. Or Crater Lake, which is a place that we have wanted to go since we moved to Oregon, but hadn't made it down there yet. So we decided to go to Crater Lake, but not just there. We did a road trip down the coast and then inland to Crater Lake and back up. So we started out by driving down to Florence, Oregon, hung out there for the evening in an Airbnb, and they have this lovely little old downtown kind of main street with lots of shops and restaurants that are really nice. So we enjoyed that, did a rum tasting. I came home with some coconut rum, which was really yummy. I've been enjoying a glass of that with an ice cube every night since we got back. And the next day we drove down to Brookings, and on the way we stopped in Bandon, went to a place called Tony's Crab Shack for lunch, which, oh my gosh, absolutely incredible. I had heard great things about them and I was like, how good could it be? Yeah, it's definitely that good. And we made a few stops along the Boardman corridor, which is a very scenic part of the southern Oregon coast. The following day we drove down into California to the Jedediah Redwood State Park. I think I got that name a little wrong, but close enough. The next morning we woke up and there was a negative tide, so we went down to one of the beaches and did some tide pooling where you can see sea stars and sea urchins and other marine life. We've done that many times before, but this was especially a lot of fun. And then we drove to Crater Lake that evening. Well, almost. We drove to the place we were staying this side of Crater Lake, which turned out to be, I didn't know this, they were all these little cabins. It was a historical site. The cabins had originally been built, now I'm not going to remember. I think it had something to do with logging, and there were people who were kind of settling the area and doing this government project, and the buildings were built for them. So it was very rustic, but a cool place to learn about, although clearly I didn't retain much of that. The next day, we did drive to Crater Lake. There was still a little bit of snow up there, and I thought this was going to be one of these things where you go and you see it, because you basically just stand at a viewpoint and look at it, and like, oh cool, now let's, head out. Kind of like what people say about the Grand Canyon. I've not been there before. But we ended up staying for several hours. It was so, so beautiful. The only bad thing about Crater Lake is that it is so much more remote than I realized. It takes a few hours to get there and a few hours to get out of there and back into civilization. But they do have a lodge there, and we had lunch at the lodge. There weren't any rooms available. They had booked up long before I started. I would have loved to stay at the lodge there, which is right on the edge of the crater looking into the lake. But it had already been way booked up. So if you're planning a trip, book that way ahead of time. We left Crater Lake. We went to a resort. It was very nice. I wish we'd been there more than just one night because we barely saw any of it. But beautiful. Has the mountain range, and then you could see Mount Bachelor in the distance. Our room was really lovely. The bathroom in the room that we got was as big as my office here pretty much. They had several restaurants, an art exhibit, all kinds of things. Definitely want to go back there. And then the final day we drove through Bend and Sisters and then back home. And I've saved the best for last. One thing I haven't told you about this trip is that we had a surprise guest, which was my mother. And actually it wasn't a surprise to me. I knew that she was flying up and coming to join us on the trip, but Paul had no idea. It was a surprise for him, and they've become good friends, so this was a happy surprise. So what happened was the day before we were leaving to go on this road trip, I told Paul, hey, I need to go out and run some errands before the trip. So I went and picked up my mom, came back home in the parking lot here. I called Paul and I was like, hey, I picked up a package and it's big and heavy and I can't get it by myself. Can you come to the car and help me get it inside? And my mom was to me like, well, thanks for describing me that way. But she sat kind of in front of my car, in front and off to the side a little bit, so that when he walked up and around, he wouldn't see her right away. And I told him, the package is in the front seat, so go get it. So he goes around to the front and he sees her and he's like, and he had his head down doing something, but he looked up and he saw her and he was like, oh, hey. And he opens the door to the car and he's like, there's nothing in here, there's no package. And then he's like, wait. And then he looks at her like, what? It was funny because you could see his brain trying to process what was happening, because she doesn't live anywhere near us. We're in the Portland area of Oregon and she's down in Houston, Texas. So we don't just run into her. She doesn't just pop up at our place. So that was great. And then it took him a while to process too that, oh, she's coming on this trip, because, he had spent these months thinking that it would just be him and I. And now all of a sudden everything's a little bit different. And he's to me like, wait, but do we have rooms where there's enough room for a third person? I'm like, yes, I've known about this for about 3 months. 3 months? What? But anyway, that was really fun, and we were so glad to have her on the trip with us. We really enjoyed it. It was a better trip because she was there, and it was nice to be able to show her parts of Oregon that she hadn't seen yet either, because she hadn't been on the southern coast or down to the redwoods, and none of us, of course, had been to Crater Lake. And So we have that sofa thing that was unexpected. Then we had all of Barron's vet visits and everything with him that was unexpected. Then we had this big trip that was expected, and we'd spent a lot of time planning. Right before the trip, Paul's best friend that he's known since elementary school passed away. And he'd known for a while that this was going to happen, and it was looking like it might happen around the trip. And he'd already decided, you know, if it happens during the trip, I'm not going down there because we're doing the trip, right? Fortunately, the timing worked out where the funeral wasn't happening until the week after we got back. So we come back from the trip, and immediately we get him a flight to Houston. He goes to stay with my mom. He leaves later that week, and so he had 2 trips in a row and got to see my mom twice. And both of us have been back to Texas since we moved to Oregon, but neither of us had been to Houston yet. So that was his first experience going back. And that brings me to, we moved to Oregon almost 2 years ago. So how are things going? What do we think of it? We love it. We are so happy we moved here. One of the best decisions of our lives. There's nothing about it we don't love. We've talked in videos before about what we miss about Houston. That mostly has to do with some cuisine like Cajun food, and Paul got to have some of that when he went back. Come here, kid. You're all over the place. But yeah, we just love everything. We love the climate. We love the people. We love that there are so many different things to do that are just day trips away, or if we want to do a road trip, there are so many things we can do where we don't have to buy airplane tickets and do that kind of travel and then rent a car. We just hop into our car and go do it. And that's pretty amazing. And of course, the other big change that happened around the same time as our move was that I quit teaching. Look at you, you're upside down. Na bat bird. So I quit teaching, and I had been doing full-time teaching and full-time YouTube for several years, and it was a lot in terms of the time commitment. So now I'm just doing the full-time YouTube and things related to that, and that's going really well too. I'm so happy. I'm so much happier than I was when I was completely consumed time-wise with those 2 different jobs, and especially since teaching is such a stressful job. And there are certainly things about working for myself that can be stressful too, especially pertaining to being in a bad economy, such as we are now. You definitely feel the effects of that, but I'm so much happier, and there's so much less stress. And I never take for granted how very fortunate I am and what a privilege it is to be in this position where I can work for myself and I can decide for myself what I do every day. If I want to take a day off, I take a day off. I'm still at a point where I work 7 days a week most weeks, but that's just because that's what I do. It's not because I necessarily have to. I could work every single second I'm awake. I have been trying to learn to have a better work-life balance, and that taking time off of my work to do personal things, to spend time with my husband and with our animals, that's not only okay, but that it's a really good thing and it's a healthy thing. And I'm just very lucky that I get to do that. And one of the biggest challenges is the time portion and the balance portion, the work-life balance, because I'm a perfectionist and I have an idea of how I want something to be, and I know that I'm capable of doing it. But I've come to realize that the time investment that it takes to do everything at the level that I want is not always worth the time investment. So yeah, it's this balancing act of figuring all that stuff out and making those kinds of choices of what to focus my time on, what to kind of let go or not do to my higher standards. But the biggest reward that comes from that is, this is a new thing, the upside down. This has not happened before this video. The biggest reward is having a life again, because I didn't have much of one when I was teaching and doing YouTube. Now I get to enjoy life. And yesterday I got to go sit on our balcony on this beautiful new sofa that's super comfortable. I'm going to link that sofa below, by the way, because it's very nice and the cushions are nice and dense so they won't just flatten out after one season. It'll last for a while. Yeah, it's just been great. Just the combination of living up here and being able to basically do whatever we want, which is just an incredible luxury, the biggest luxury. So how is it going working for myself? Very well. Very, very happy. I did want to mention my bag preferences have changed a bit lately. I think this has to do with summer more than anything. So I'm doing a few videos lately that are about brands that I don't usually talk about, and maybe even some price points I don't usually talk about and styles I don't usually talk about. So MZ Wallace was one of those. I took that large tote on that road trip, loved it. And then I did the Vera Bradley video, and I showed you this bag that I got recently, the Elizabeth vintage bag from 1997. Threw that in the washing machine, let it air dry. It's great. Carried it yesterday, love it. And I'll be doing a video sometime in the next few weeks on a bag, maybe more than one bag, from Baggu, because they had a couple of bags that caught my eye on some videos that I saw recently. So I wanted to try them out. I don't have any yet. I have them on order. They're being shipped. So I don't know yet what I think about them. But if you have any Baggu bags, let me know please in the comment section what you have, what you love, what you don't love, whatever you want to tell me about Baggu that you think might interest me, or I might be able to use that information in a video because I don't know a whole lot about them yet. And I feel like all three of those brands, maybe MZ Wallace a little less, but Vera Bradley and Baggu are pretty far from where I started the channel with luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, but I feel like they're very relevant right now. I feel like a lot of people don't have the interest in the luxury brands that they used to have. I think most of this has to do with the economy. So people, myself included, have been more interested in bags that cost less, more affordable, more accessible right now for people's incomes. And then also for me, because it's summer, I'm looking at bags that are more colorful, or bags that are much more casual than a lot of the bags that I usually wear. Some of that also has to do with living in Oregon. People are just so much more casual with their wardrobes up here than I saw in Houston. Plus these bags are lightweight, and I just think of them as more summer bags, and it's very summery right now since it is summer. So I have not forsaken the other brands. Of course, I will continue talking about Coach, and I will be doing luxury brand videos here and there too. I haven't been doing as many because the views haven't been great, which tells me that people aren't that interested in the luxury brands anymore. I think that interest will come back when the economy starts eventually improving, but right now is not the time. I am starting to work on my next vlog sale as well, and I have a big project that I've been working on that's for a new product that I'm hoping to launch by November, maybe sooner than that. Did I tell you about Vincent? I said she didn't get along with the parakeets, but she's also doing really well. She got a ton of new toys. When we were on the trip, the road trip recently for Paul's birthday, we got a pet sitter, which we've never had before. She's fabulous, and she knows about birds and dogs, so she came in and took care of everybody, and that was really good. So I got Vincent a whole bunch of new toys to help keep her busy while I wasn't here, and she seemed to do really well with that. So that is everything that we've had going on. It's been a lot lately, and there's still a lot planned for the rest of this year. Let me know in the comment section what's going on with you. What's been happening in your life this year, and what do you have planned for the rest of the year? I would love to hear about it. Remember to check out the recipe in the description box below, as well as my website, autumnbeckman.com/shop. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you back here next time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.